Nowadays, most of the beer on offer in London is of the mass-produced imported variety, which is bad news for fans of traditional ales like me. But there are signs of a real renaissance in beer made from old-fashioned ingredients and recipes. Here in Greenwich, the largest brewery to open in the capital since World War II is coming up with new variations on ancient beers. And comedian Tim Fitzhyam, well, he got the tough job of sampling them.
London was once the brewing capital of the world. Breweries like Truman's here on Brick Lane made the beers that fueled the Industrial Revolution, the Empire, and the entire planet. Like so many of its contemporaries, this old brewery no longer sells beer. It's all shops, restaurants, cafes, and designer shoes. Proper ale used to be the most popular drink in this country. It's now been drowned out in a fountain of fizzy, frothy, foreign lager.
Okay, this is where the journey starts.
Right.
This is where we do our research and development, if you like.
London brewer Alistair Hook is a man on a mission. What have you got in here?
This is where the malted barley mixes with the hot water. It's your mash.
He is determined to put traditionally made beers back in their rightful place, at the heart of our drinking culture.
For me, as a Londoner, beer is about being British. Beer is our national drink, and it's been a tragedy that in the last 100 years it's fallen away from the public interest.
Today, Alistair is at the forefront of a liquid revolution.
You get a nice freshness.
Oh, that smells really good.
Microbreweries like his one here in Greenwich are springing up everywhere, catering for drinkers with more discerning taste buds.
The rebound is happening now, and the reason for that, quite simply, people are tired of tasteless, lifeless beer. They are queuing up to drink beers with real character, beer that has not just been made by a scientist and an accountant that takes 3 days to make, a beer that takes 7, 8, 9 weeks to make.
Do you think you could make perhaps a beer for us at Inside Out?
Oh, I'd love to. We'd love to.
And Alistair is going to delve deep into the past to find inspiration for his BBC brew.
The recipes are passed down from generation to generation of brewers. The old historical recipes are still available. We can pick them up at the British Library.
While Alistair gets on with his research, I discover how brewing here on this site goes back hundreds of years.
This is the original well from which they drew the water from 1717 for the Greenwich Hospital Brewery.
The brewery's customers were pensioners at the nearby Royal Naval College. Their ration was 4 pints a day.
London water wasn't safe to drink. Even into Dickens' time, you could get cholera and typhoid. So the ordinary everyday drink for most people was beer.
What's the beer called that they were given?
The normal beer that they got on just as a standard ration on normal days was called small beer.
Small beer. That's nice. That's where the phrase comes from.
That's where the phrase comes
amazing.
from.
What did it taste like?
Well, we're pretty certain that it was dark brown and smoky. One of the governors, Captain Bailey, refers to it as sour, and what he means by that is almost certainly that the wooden vessels were infected, giving it a sort of sharp, rough cidery sort of flavour.
If you served it upstairs today, you might get complaints.
I think so, yeah. I think we'd have a few pints coming back.
Once Alistair has perfected his recipes, commercial brewing takes place at his brand new facility just down the road. It is the largest brew house to be opened in the capital since World War II.
What style of beer would you recommend for Inside Out London?
A perfect choice would be the beer that London was built on, if you like, the London Porter that was the main beer style brewed in the 18th century, and a beer that was drunk by everybody. The London Porters especially, who obviously donated their name to it.
200 years ago, London Porter was one of the beers that made British brewers rich.
In 1796, Whitbread produced the equivalent of 30 million retail transactions. That made them about the biggest company on the planet. Whitbread were Microsoft. I mean, it was absolutely vast.
There were more than 20,000 breweries in the capital alone, with the major players vying to be the biggest and the best.
In October 1813, they overreached themselves. The biggest porter tun that was ever built burst. in the Tottenham Court Road, where the Dominion Theatre is now, there was a tidal wave of porter down what is now the New Oxford Street. It demolished several tenements that were built against the brewery wall, and the women and children that were there were killed. Some of them crushed, some of them drowned. Some of these people died of drunkenness. They were drinking the beer out of the gutters.
The recipe for our London Porter may be hundreds of years old, but the process used to make it is bang up to date.
I mean, this looks like a very high-tech bit of kit. So this really is the control centre, the sort of nerve centre of the entire brew house.
Once you work so hard to find that right combination of techniques and ingredients and combinations of ingredients, you want to replicate it. You don't want it to just be the random luck chance. New technology allows you to just do it a little bit better.
So with our inside-out London Porter, that's all going to be run from up here.
This is definitely where it starts, kind of like the birthplace of the beer.
We've got some lovely Greenwich whitebait.
But however carefully and lovingly it's made, can beer ever take the place of wine at the dinner table? Alistair certainly thinks so.
You've chosen a beer to go with the food specifically. What have we got with them?
Yeah, this is a modern beer. It's got lovely citric, herbal aromas, a nice biscuity malt middle, and it's generally very refreshing, which cuts the fat and the oils of the fried fish.
It really lifts the whitebait, the tanginess of the beer. You know, it really does make a difference to the food.
As a chef and as a brewer, we're trying to take the matching of the two to a new modern level where you're experiencing greater food and drink combinations, and really that's pretty much an expression of where the London restaurant scene is anyway.
Well, it certainly works for me.
You will find that there is no wine in the world that will sit readily with chocolate, and we're about to present you with a beer that will. This is our hospital porter, which has been aged for a year in oak.
I'm going to give this the first sip. Oh, that's really good. That's like chocolate in a glass. Ah, here it is. The inside-out London Porter. Alistair, will you do the honours? This is the moment we've been waiting for. This is a very exciting moment. Oh, it's got a good sound when you open it. There we go. Really nice and dark.
Lovely dark garnet colours, almost garnet brown. Beer as it used to be brewed, and now as it used to be drunk. With haste.
That's lovely.
No small amount of pleasure.
Oh, that's great. There it is. The inside-out London Porter, as drunk by the porters of London for hundreds of years. And that really is as far away from a fizzy, frothy foreign lager as it's possible to get.